Well, thanks everyone. And yeah, just wanted to say, yeah, Jai Bhim and Namo Buddhaya. Yeah. And thanks, Priya, for a beautiful introduction of me. Yeah, really touched what you said about me. Um, yeah, it felt you gave me a little confidence before my talk tonight. So thank you. Um, yeah, when Artha Siddhi asked me to give a talk on this subject, on dana, on receiver end, I said yes straight away. And I thought it's an easy talk to give. uh, I thought, I have received so much in my life, uh, and I thought, oh, it's easy subject to talk on. And also, it's a general thing for me nowadays. Whenever somebody asks me to give a talk or something, I try to say yes, because my usual tendency is to kind of say no, and I want to take responsibilities and say yes. And yeah, when I say yes, I thought it's going to be very easy talk to give. But more I was reflecting on this subject of dana and receiving end of dana, it was getting so difficult actually. Um, more I think about what did I receive, it was quite an interesting experience, I thought actually. And what was coming for me, I think when I was thinking about this subject, receiving end, receiving end of dana, for me, I think there was a couple of things was coming very strongly. So the one thing was a lot of events was coming into my mind and in my memories, and some of them very beautiful memories, really, receiving dana, and some of them quite painful, actually, very painful memories. Um, because my life was, grow up in India in difficult circumstances, such a poverty and the caste system, and the harshness of life is quite different. So there are some quite strong memories was coming back to me when I was thinking about this subject, some reason. And obviously there was, a lot of gratitude was coming into my experience as well when I was thinking about this talk. And third thing was mostly alive for me, I think, when I was thinking about this talk was my experience of working with Karuna Trust. And especially when I fundraise for Karuna on the doors, I probably have knocked like thousands and thousands of doors asking for money for Karuna's work in India and Nepal last 10 years. And that experience was quite alive when I was thinking of this talk as well. So anyway, I say thanks a lot for really asking me to give this talk, because it's important actually. It's an important topic to reflect on, what I have been received from outside world and what that has impacted on my life in general. And I guess it's true for everyone, really. It's everyone some point has to reflect on this matter or subject. Yeah. So the first thing I thought I would, so in a way, I'm gonna keep this talk personal as possible. There's so many events coming into my mind and stories coming into my mind, but I thought maybe I will just choose 2 or 3 stories to just share with you and see if I can unfold that stories and give a little bit glimpses of how I experienced on receiver end of this dana. Yeah. So the first thing I wanted to start saying was about Buddha actually. Bhante talks one of his lecture how Buddha was a grateful Buddha. He says generally we associated Buddha as wise Buddha or compassionate Buddha or kind Buddha or visionary Buddha or wisdom. Someone has a wisdom Buddha, but we don't really see in terms of the Buddha as a grateful Buddha, And Bhante said after his enlightenment, straight after his enlightenment, he spent 7 weeks of paying gratitude. Yeah, reflecting on gratitude and what he has received in his life after enlightenment. And there's a particular very moving experience for Buddha was he was paying gratitude to Bodhi tree, the tree that he sat underneath and got enlightened, and he was um, spending 1 week looking at this tree and just showing gratitude. And I thought that's amazing actually. When I think about gratitude, I think personally Buddha gives excellent example uh, of how to be grateful, and how to reflect on this generosity of also receiving end. Even after his enlightenment, he's just sitting and paying this gratitude towards to this Bodhi tree. And Bhante says, it shows a lot about, Buddha and grateful Buddha, he said. And I really like that word actually, grateful Buddha. We don't really relate with that concept of Buddha. He's grateful, but I think it's very important. And I thought I will just say that really because in a way, if we want to understand the generosity or in receiver end, I think Buddha is a great example. We can reflect on Buddha's life actually, because he's been really grateful. And it comes natural to him. He's not just feeling of grateful, but he act on it. He spent 6-7 weeks of doing things for his teachers and this tree and so on. So I just wanted to say that really. Okay, we're just moving on to my personal story. How do I see this this aspect of generosity? So I thought I would give you just maybe a couple of stories start with, and see anything I can learn from this or anything you can pick up from these stories. And this particular incident in my life, it comes very strongly actually, and especially when I was reflecting on this talk, this particular story, um, yeah, strongly affected me in my life. And I'm gonna actually try not to too analytic about the generosity of materialistic things or non-materialistic things or dhamma. I think we can get too intellectual about this, and we try to dwell on the dhamma is the only generosity, is the best generosity, or things like that. So I'm not going to too much worry about that one. For me, I think the end, whatever generosity we receive has influence, positive influence, and that moving towards to spiral path, for me. So this story, particular story I'd like to start with is my mother. She was in hospital. Before I come to England, I was in university. And when I was in university, I used to work part-time as well as a student. And there was one time my mother was in hospital, and she has to go through very critical operation. And so I went to hospital and I was with her for 7 days, just like really just looking after her, me and my brother as well. And operation done, everything is gone well. And the end of the operation, we have to pay the bills, the cost of, medical treatment and the hospital. And the cost was quite a lot. And I didn't have any money to do that because I was just student. My brother was student, and we didn't have much money at all. And I was trying to ask people, I asked few people, my friends, if they could support me. And but some people do help me, and some people couldn't help me at all. And there was still wasn't enough money, and I was very stressed. I was very, very anxious actually about how I'm going to get out my mom from hospital if I don't have enough money to pay for this hospital. How I'm going to discharge my mom, And what I can do to collect money, get money from people. And the end, I didn't have enough money. So the end, I don't have any options rather than just to go and talk with this doctor and convince her I don't have enough money and can I take my mom home. And I remember going, before I go to this hospital, I was walking towards hospital, and some reason I was chanting Vajrasattva mantra, and I was praying to Vajrasattva. I said, Vajrasattva, help me to communicate what I'm going to say to this doctor. And I was chanting this mantra, was a long mantra. And I went into the hospital, and I went to doctor, and she was sitting in front of me. I was sitting here, and I just explained to her. I said, doctor, look, I'm a student. I don't have much money. This is the money I could collect to discharge my mom and pay your bills in hospital, and I don't have any more money at all. And so she took all money to her, and she gave me back 500 rupees. It's like 5-6 pound. She gave me back, and she said, just Sanghanath, go home, take your mom home, and celebrate Diwali. There was a Diwali festival on. And she said, I have seen you, how much you care about your mom, how much you look after your mom during the hospital. And just don't worry, give me what you got and take this 500 pound back. And this story, some reason I never ever forget actually, has deeply affected me for two reasons. One is it really shows me empathy and compassion from this doctor. And whenever I go back to India, I try to visit her and go with lots of chocolates and things like that, But just thinking about this story, I thought very interesting learning for me, because it shows there is experience of giver who gives dana and experience of who receives dana. Yeah. And I thought that's interesting. One is, I think there's always process before you give and after you give. Yeah. And also for receiver, also it's process for, it's just process before I receive any dana and after receive dana. So before I talk with this doctor, I was going through all sorts of things, anxiety, stress, or things like that. And there is a whole process is going on in my mind and trying to find a ways to solve this problem. Yeah. And for her is also same thing. When I ask, I don't have enough money, she probably have to have some kind of, process going on in her mind. And what I can come to conclusion is actually for both of us has to imagine something. There's something very important part is imagination. I have to imagine something positive will happen, and she probably have to imagine my life a bit more based on her experience with me. That's like in the hospital for seven days. And when imagination happens, I think there is a spontaneous generosity happens as well. There's spontaneous empathy comes, there's spontaneous compassion come as well. So I think just wanted to mention that really. So another reason I feel this story really important for me, because it has also shows how can you be compassionate, how can you be more generous in given situation. So I give you an example. So this is the same situation happened in my village. I was living in England, and I was visiting my village after a few years in England. And as soon as I arrived in my village, next day, my friend's father came to me, and he said, my wife is in hospital and she is going through operation. Can you give me some money to pay? Yeah. And without any intellect, what's the word? without any much more thinking, I just responded to him. Yeah, this is money. Take this money and pay for your wife's treatment. I felt this generosity happens to me in that moment is connected with what the doctor has done with me. Yeah, it's nothing kind of separate. She exemplify for me what could you do with given situation. If something similar situation will arise in your life, you could do same thing. So I thought actually for um, the receiving it of generosity is very important experience. Is like I have this now strong memories of receiving something um, precious or significant. I've been helped, and it's my duty to help others. Yeah, and when I say this, I don't say this in terms of in terms of this concept, if you like. I don't really say in conceptualization terms. I really saying this in a experienced um, living experience teaching or learning for me, I think. Um, and I think that's something very important, kind of giving as a receiving end, that experience is very alive, I think. So that's something I wanted to communicate through this story. Yeah, that's one story I really stuck in my life, definitely. The second thing I wanted to mention about Karuna appeals, when I do door-to-door fundraising, I probably, yeah, as I said, I knocked probably thousands of doors last 10 years. And often my experience receiving generosity from people is often quite moving, actually, moving, uplifting, joyful, um, and most of time quite surprising. Um, Surprising in that sense how people can be generous. You know, I have seen people on the doors really struggling with their own life, own financial difficulties, but they still find ways to give some money to charities or to cause in India or Nepal. And when I see that, I always felt um, well, uplifting, really, uplifting and inspiring, definitely. Um, yeah, I'm wondering if I can say a bit more on door knocking. And this is very, also I experienced one striking thing in me, actually. Um, when things come to asking for others, I'm very good at it. I can ask for money for charities. And when it comes to asking for myself, I'm really bad at it. I just don't like asking for myself. I never can understand. There's some kind of views I hold, I think, about myself. Um, but yeah, there's one thing I wanted to um, emphasize, and my experience was just receiving generosity on the doors. There's something about confidence. It gives me a lot of confidence. Um, and when I say that confidence is, it comes from a bit like a moral confidence, having a confidence on positivity or karma, if you like. Yeah, I think a lot of people probably knew that before. When I arrived in England or when I was growing up in India, I was very shy and very lacking in confidence. I even couldn't speak in front of people. I couldn't even speak in groups. And there's something about uh, lacking confidence in me. But when I did these Corona appeals, there's one first Corona appeal I'd done. And after that Corona appeal, I felt tremendous confidence in myself, some reason. And only way I can describe it is to do with just like our generosity, asking and receiving generosity, and just seeing and witnessing people generosity. There's something about practice going out and just doing again and again, uh, raising money for charity, good cause, connecting with people on deeper level, and also receiving this generosity. There's something about that. I felt very confident, some reason, and that's where I actually decided if I want to, I will ever feel a bit more lacking confidence or again a bit shy or something like that. I thought I would do Karuna appeal. And since then I've done so many Karuna appeals in my life. Um, and it's very hard to tell really um, how I gain confidence from these activities. Um, but I really have gained confidence just doing this practice again and again, asking for uh, generosity for people in India, myself, and so on. Um, and I feel very confident to ask now as well for the charity itself. Um, maybe it's to do with something around when Dardo Rinpoche says, if you don't know anything, you do something for others. So in a way, I can relate to his teaching actually. In a sense, most of the time I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't have sometimes clue. But there's something about if you do something for others, it does give some kind of path or directions and confidence, some reason. And I really do relate with that one. Something about if you don't know anything what to do, just do something for others that has an impact on myself uh, on deeper level. Yeah. Um, yeah. So something about Karuna pills I wanted to mention very quickly. The third thing I wanted to mention was so I got involved with Buddhism when I was very young. I was probably 8 or 9 years old. Um, I got involved with Buddhism in my village. And, as I mentioned, I grew up in a very difficult circumstances, the harshness or the poverty, the caste discrimination, and so on. And I got into Buddhism early age because of Dr. Ambedkar, because he's given to Buddhism. There's a one very strong experience I had actually. I think Artha Priya is here actually. When he ordained me in Guheloka in 2008, as soon as he ordained me, I had a strong feeling that if Dr. Ambedkar wouldn't choose Buddhism or wouldn't give Buddhism to us, I wouldn't be ordained, you know. And if he wouldn't convert into Buddhism in 1956, that ordination as a Sanghanath wouldn't have happened. And that's true, really, because what Dr. Ambedkar has done in 1956, that has influenced what I am here today. Yeah, definitely. But I want to share this one story or one incident I remember when I was getting involved with Buddhism. So here we go. I done my first long retreat when I was 13 years old. I was on a meditation retreat, and that was my first meditation retreat, long retreat, if you like. Before that, I'd done maybe a weekend retreats, but that was my first retreat. It's called Diwali retreat, like equal to Christmas retreat. And I was 13 years old, and I'd done this retreat. And end of this retreat, I just started to cry, really, really crying like baby. And I could not understand myself why I'm crying. Such a positive thing happened. And I remember after that retreat, I went back my home, my mom's home, and I could not relate to my mom either. I, my mom was sitting there, and I was sitting just like this as a boy, and I started to feel stranger in my mom's house, some reason. And I think when I reflect on this experience, I would say that's where first kind of glimpses of even I will say in my language like a transcendental, like a dharmic perspective. I really felt what Dhamma has given to me. You know, I felt something, I found something that I never found before. Yeah, I thought I I come across something that I would never ever come across before. Yeah, and it was coming through the Sangha, really. The people who were leading this retreat, the people who own the retreats, they created the condition where I can experience this, in a sense, initiation of Dhamma, if you like, because they were meditating together every day. We were have a Dhamma study together, and we created some kind of conditions where everyone can benefit and everyone can have a glimpses of how what Sangha like, or what Dhamma can do in our life, if you like. And in a way, quite positive experience, but also it's quite painful experience. I just felt somewhat has given to me through this Sangha is Dhamma, and I would say that was my one of the first experience of tremendous joy, confusion even, and feeling quite strange about myself. But since then, I never ever looked back actually. I never ever looked back. I always felt very strong connection with Tri Ratna Sangha. And there is always I felt um, deeper level satisfaction about having Dhamma in my life, if you like. You know, uh, anything is secondary, but that Dhamma, having a Dhamma in my life, I felt quite strong connection. Yeah. And in a way, since then, my life is unfold really about my spiritual journey in Tri Ratna. Um, yeah, there's something I wanted to touch really, something about when I received deeper level of generosity through um, that retreat has tremendous influence on me. And in a way, that's something I always want to inspire doing more and more. In a way, what I learned from that retreat, if you like, um, I'd like to be part of this Sangha where we can create this condition for people to come and realize something deeper level. And I'm sure you can relate actually, we all actually have got something from this Sangha or based on Sangha in this condition, we realize something deeper level, inspiration or dharmic, Dhamma if you like. And for me, when I receive that in that retreat or when I reflect on that particular incident, I do feel much more inspired to create that condition more and more. And I want to be part of that conditions more and more in my life. Um, I think it's 30 minutes I've been talking. um, so I think I will stop here. And yeah, just want to say, yeah, thank you, really. Thank you for listening. In a way, you are giving me opportunity tonight to reflect on my own life, and we all part of the receiving end in some ways, because the Buddhist perspective really emphasize on see you are independent on conditions, so we not really separate. So this process of receiving and giving is always is there, pratitya samutpada. And I have to come back again and again with this experience. Well, Bhante says interesting really. There's a four things he says. We don't really reflect on this experience, or we don't receive, we don't feel gratitude because of, he says, one first thing he says, we failure to recognize a benefit as benefit. That's why we don't really recognize the gratitude. Second thing he says, taking benefits for granted. And third thing he says, egotism. There's some kind of ego is involved. That's why we don't really feel gratitude. And fourth thing he says, just forgiveness, not forgiveness, forgetfulness. We just forget what we have received in our life. So in a way, what this today's opportunity gave it me a little bit like remembering this, what have given to my life. Yeah. So I stop here. Thanks a lot.